What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the final this week at Bungie of Season of the Worthy, and of course, next week we are getting Season 11, but also major reveals for the future of Destiny 2. And so Bungie give us a little bit more insight about what we can expect from upcoming reveals, but then they talk about some of the changes that we're going to see next season, so there's some Eververse stuff in there, as well as Sandbox. Buffs to loot drops including certain raid rewards, and adjustments to trials rewards, and then they also talk about some changes that they're going to be making to controller layout options in the game. And we're going to talk teasers for the upcoming content, plus much more in the video. So guys, if you do enjoy this one, then let us know what you think down below in the comment section, and a rating really helps me out. But otherwise, let's get into it. Bungie said that within Destiny 2, you may have been watching the approach of the Almighty, and you're itching to see the conclusion of the season, but you're also starting to hear whispers of what's coming next. So join us on Tuesday, June 9th at 9 AM PDT to learn more about the future of Destiny 2. And for extra clarification right here, somebody did say, what about reveals for the next season? Of course, that's Season 11 starting on Tuesday. And Destiny the game reiterated, June 9th, be there. And so it looks like for the first time, we might actually get the reveal for that season on the day that the season starts. And they kind of prepped us for that, but with it being different to how they normally do stuff, it's good to get that bit of clarification. Of course, Bungie are changing a bunch of different things in the game, and these will happen across Season 11 and 12, but they give us a further insight into some of the things happening next week with the start of Season 11. So they say, as noted in a previous TWAB, they've shifted the Season 11 armor offering to be a gameplay reward for aspirational content, and the Season of Opulence Intrepid ornament sets are returning to this storefront. So the Eververse armor for the season essentially won't be an Eververse, and it's going to be an aspirational content drop of some sort. They say they've added an additional 2,300 Bright Dust to the Season Pass, and they've added a flare section to feature shaders and spawn effects when it comes to Bright Dust purchases. And they say highly requested items such as Wishes of Sorrow will once again be available, and they're going to communicate Season 11 silver-only items at the beginning of the season. For the Sandbox though, they say the Powerful Friends armor mod will no longer stack. Previously, it could grant plus 20 mobility, which players could leverage to get 3 stat columns to the max of 100 points, but the mod is not priced sufficiently to justify the benefit, and increasing the cost would have adverse effects on its primary benefit. So in Season 11, they're introducing a new arc mod, granting a similar stat bonus to strength that will not stack. Additionally though, Enhanced Auto Rifle Loader, Fusion Rifle Loader, and Bow Loader now have a chance to drop from Pinnacle mod sources. And that is a more minor update, but if you are still hunting any of the raid exotics, they say following exotics now have increased drop chances. So 1000 Voices, Anarchy, and Always on Time, which is the exotic Sparrow from the chest and Scourge of the Past, have had the drop chance changed to begin at 10% and increase to a maximum of 50% over 20 clears. So that's a pretty significant change right there, especially if you've had a pretty hard time getting any of those exotics, and it is the second time that we've actually seen adjustments to 1000 Voices and Anarchy's drop rate. But then there is the trials, so additional Masterwork material rewards now drop at 3, 5, and 7 trials wins. They've added a Trials Weekly bounty that unlocks Trials Engrams at Saint 14, and the bounty will reward the 3-win milestone for every single week. And then token distribution has been rebalanced to focus on 3, 5, and 7 wins, and this includes repeat passages. And then Trials tokens are no longer awarded from match completions, but granted specifically through wins and bounties. But the Passage of Wealth will also now double the bonus Trials tokens earned at 3, 5, and 7 wins. So some positive changes right there. And also that weekly bounty unlocking the Trials Engram equivalent for the 3-win milestone. Sounds like it's moved forward. They previously said that we'd be getting that one a bit later on, but that is definitely a positive. So, of course, while we don't have an exact look at the content that we'll get specifically for Season 11 in terms of activities, which they kind of indicated we're going to get 2 different activities, and then of course all the loot, and even the theme, specifically I suppose. Outside of all of that stuff, we at least have a few technical notes to work with. And of course we know that there's going to be a link to the pyramid ships and the content that we will ultimately get in the fall. Additionally though, Bungie are adding extra controller layout options, so essentially they're going to be adding custom options. We'll be able to customize mappings for gameplay actions on a character, in vehicles, and for general settings like emotes and interacting with prompts. There's also going to be a reset button that'll put you back to one of the kind of standard presets, and essentially they're showing us how we'll be able to remap different controls, so definitely pretty cool right there, and obviously gives a bit of additional control all around. But if you want to check out more details about that, you can see it in the TWAB. And they also say that next week, at 9 AM PDT, we're going to get service maintenance on D2, and of course that's when we're going to see the reveal for the future of the game. But then at 10 AM, Destiny 2 should be back online on all platforms, so that is when we should be getting that content drop. They did give an additional preview of some resolved issues inside of next week's update, so Polaris Lance's Perfect Fifth explosion is no longer being cancelled by a subsequent shot. That one has taken quite some time to get sorted out, but then also Dune Marcher's linear actuators will now work after triggering on yellow bar enemies. Players on Steam will no longer have their FPS locked to 30 FPS when relaunching the game, and offline players in clans will no longer have their names set to offline. And finally, Celestial Fire melee ability for Warlocks will now trigger the Winter's Guile Warlord Sigil perk. Moving on now to some neat DLC speculation to touch on from the community. So initially, with all of the talk of Titan possibly being destroyed, players have mentioned that the background image for Bungie's reveal page has line work very much like the Titan arcology symbol. And I guess this is curious for sure, especially given the increased possibility of losing a location from a technical perspective, but also the link to community speculation and potential leaks that we've had about the fall DLC. Again, it's something we're having to speculate about primarily at the moment, but let me know what you guys think of Titan being removed, or should we say potentially being destroyed in the future. Some leaks which have mentioned this, including new supposed leaks that say Titan will be a focus of next season, have also mentioned that the Drifter, but also Eris, and the Stranger are going to be prominent characters in the upcoming content drop. Funnily enough, Drifter and Eris were spoken about a little while ago, although they are pretty pivotal to the story and the link to Pyramid Ships and the Nine, but we've also seen discussion of characters like Callus and Mara. So I guess if we see literally all of them being involved in some way, then perhaps some of the leaks could be onto something. However, another thing that folks had speculated about pretty loosely is the possibility of Bungie introducing a new patrol zone in Season 11, and potentially one like Europa that's going to be a focus of the Fall expansion. Paul Tassi suggested it, but then tweeted and said to set expectations, I have been told not to think Europa is showing up as a patrol zone on Tuesdays, so Bungie have pretty much confirmed you aren't going to be getting anything quite that grand next week. So let's not get too excitable, but of course the next two seasons appear to be totally connected, so for Season 11, we should probably think along the lines of Dawn or Worthy or any other seasonal drop we've had this year. And hopefully from that perspective, things can only get better. But Europa as a location is going to be a pretty exciting one in general. It's a nice palette change and environment change from what we've had so far in D2. And here we can finally get a more high definition look at the Eris cutscenes. So obviously it is a little bit shinier than what we'll get in actual gameplay, but those skyboxes around Europa are going to be pretty insane. And while I personally loved the moon coming back, it will have been 2 years since we had a full new location by the fall of this year, so it's good that we're getting something, and I would imagine that like other in-game locations we've seen, this one will be fairly packed with content. I also wonder what the cracks on the surface of the moon are about. Apparently the actual Europa does have kind of blood red veins that almost look like scars on the surface, so maybe Bungie will answer that in the Destiny universe. But nonetheless, Europa is looking pretty fresh and pretty chilly. Moving on, a few questions of clarification about changes that we're going to see over the next couple of seasons. So it's worth highlighting on the point of weapon sunsetting that Pinnacles are legendary weapons and are going to share the same max power level lifespans based on when they were released. So sunsetting absolutely will apply to any legendary type of gear, according to Cosmo. That is unless Bungie outline a difference because it's raid gear or something like that. And further on the subject of sunsetting, there was a post that said, as a PvP player, I relentlessly grinded PvE to get perfect synergy, god roll guns, and complete off-meta builds. That's all gone with gear sunsetting, and I simply cannot invest that much time again. And that's where Cosmo replied and said that they have been taking feedback around build crafting and how players feel that masterworking is going to be far too expensive if the gear you put materials into no longer is infusable a year down the road. And so once again, I think one of the main points of feedback if we are going to see sunsetting is for Bungie to really think about the investment side of things and that relationship between infusing and upgrading material, how we acquire the items and materials needed to do it. There are a lot of clarifications that we really need Bungie to give us before we get to the fall. So once again, give us any thoughts that you do have about that. One of the big challenges, I think, over the next few weeks is going to be deciphering the conversation and the changes that we're going to see between Season 11 and 12. it looks like we'll have quite a lot of stuff to get our heads around. But for today, guys, that is what we have to round up in this video. So as always, give us your thoughts on everything that we've covered down in the comments section. And if you have enjoyed the video, be sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that I can keep you up to date with the world of D2, all the news reveals and that good stuff as soon as it drops. But otherwise, I really appreciate you tuning in. And for now, whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.